perspective, make sure to tune in to 705 Sports with myself and multiple different guests. We're going to go over local sports, national sports, and international sports, and of course, we're going to have fun. So make sure to tune in to 705 Sports Fridays at 4 p.m. live on Facebook and on TV. And welcome to 705 Sports. We have another action-packed episode. Dan Gray is back with me at the desk. So this week, when I'm pointing over here, it won't be at a light. It'll be at my guiding light and co-host, Mr. Gray.
Suck it up, butter. Being guiding light means I got to keep you on track, which means we really got to get around to our poll question. What Canadian team has the best chance of winning the Cup? Ottawa, Toronto, Montreal, Edmonton, Calgary, Winnipeg, or Vancouver? I also said other because, well, I think as long as the NHL's in charge, we don't win a cup. As long as Bettman's there, just doesn't do them any good for their finances.
It really doesn't, but I mean, obviously, we all hope a Canadian team can win a Stanley Cup. And to figure out what teams have a chance to win the Cup, we got to break down each conference, and we're dividing it into Cup contenders and playoff bound. So let's take a look at our first graphic, which is these teams in the Eastern Conference. So we're looking here for Stanley Cup contenders. I have the Islanders, Lightning, Canadian, Panthers, and Penguins. I should have the Toronto Maple Leafs in playoff bound. Forgot to put them in there, but the Leafs would be playoff bound. Senators, Bruins, Blue Jackets, and Flyers are all teams fighting for a playoff spot. I hate not putting the Leafs on a Cup contender list, but I just don't feel they are this year. I think they're missing still a bit of that rough and toughness, and as we've seen earlier in the week, which we'll get into later, the defense needs to improve. But Dan, what are your thoughts on that? I'm
going to disagree with you. I do think Toronto can be a Cup contender as long as the NHL calls the games they have been the way they have for the first two. The mid-ice hooking is being called. The slowing down of the game is being called. What we've seen over the years, though, is the NHL is inconsistent in this. They do not call this the way they do now, again in March and April when we're going down the line. The Leafs need those calls in order to stay fast through the middle. Their defense can survive if they can play puck possession and speed. If they get slowed down and hung up without the penalties coming the other way, because one of the things the Leafs need to have is a power play that makes people pay, which they had last year and look to be on the way to having again this year, we need that. But it's going to be dependent on the NHL to call it consistently the way they're calling it now.
Well, and you know, I mean, we've already seen some inconsistencies. I know Sheldon Keefe last night was very frustrated when stick checking is magically a penalty this year. There was a play where both Enval and Tavares just lifted the stick, and they're calling a penalty on it. So let's hope the NHL can fix that. I do agree with you, consistency is key.
It's an issue last night. It's probably not an issue in 3 weeks. That stick check is not called 3 weeks from now. What I want to see called for the whole year is you slow somebody down on the dump because they got rid of the trap a decade ago. You slow people down on the dump, you go. We got to keep going, though, because we got to get to the Western contenders. You want to go? You go ahead with it.
I'll go ahead with this one. And again, when you talk about speeding up the game, this actually hurts the West a bit. But for Cup contenders, I have the Avalanche, Golden Knights. Some people may think I'm nuts with the Minnesota Wild, but I'm putting the Wild in there. And the Oilers, as much as I think the Oilers are kind of almost in that middle. Too good to just be playoff bound, not quite good enough as a Cup contender. But then for playoff bound, I have the Jets, the Blues, Flames, and Canucks. I think both of those teams, if the Flames can get the goaltending and Canucks can roll 4 lines, they have a good chance. And the Seattle Kraken. And I know some people might be like, the Kraken are the newest team. We don't know anything about them. But I like their structure. They're building from the goaltender out, and I think they are playoff bound.
Which is a different take than you had a few weeks ago, but that's okay. They have played relatively well considering. I think I would flip your Jets and I would put them, and I hate to say it, in the Cup contender. Just based on what I've seen, what I've listened to, they're Leafs. They're faster. They're faster than a lot of those West Division teams. If it's called consistently and they're not being hung up and keep puck possession, the Jets could do well.
My only concern with Winnipeg, and actually, to be honest, I've had a lot of people disagree with me in social media, and I love seeing disagreements when I'm posting up these articles, so by all means comment. But I don't feel Winnipeg's defense is really good enough yet.
No,
now,
they don't have that A-line player. We discussed that in the preseason.
Yes.
They don't have that A-line player. But just watching, they're a bit like the Leafs. We have a better defense than the Leafs. We aren't going to argue with that. Mm-hmm. But if they can get the offense and get the help from the Stripes that they need, you could see them in the points race to be top 4 of their division.
But speaking of the Leafs, something we actually haven't been able to get to yet at all in all of our preseason and NHL talk, let's take a look at the Leafs' projected lineups. Yeah, you left me.
Yeah,
I was so lonely. But we look at the Leafs here, and Matthews should be back next week. So we're looking at this Leaf team, and Mikheyev is out for the next 6 to 8 weeks, which is where we're seeing our Sault Ste. Marie natives sliding into the lineup. But when you look at the Leafs lineup, it's a very deep lineup. 4 lines that can play hockey. Every line seems to have someone who can score.
They can all get their pucks in deep.
They can all get the pucks in deep. And you look at the defense core, it's better than it's been in years past. The third pairing, I don't know about you, Dan, that third pairing makes me a little uneasy with Dermott and Sandin.
Watching Sandin with the puck the other night, though, it seems like, small sample size, just in the 2 games we've watched, he is more conscientious of not making the bad play. He's a little scared to make the bad play, and maybe that's going to go away with some NHL experience. But his puck possession, he's a little more cautious with the puck possession.
No, see, Sandin's not my worry on that pairing, actually. My worry is actually Dermott. So Travis Dermott has been someone who we thought would be compared to Morgan Rielly when he first got drafted. That's what the Leafs thought. They were getting a guy to play with Rielly. You look at that beautiful pass by Rielly on the goal by Nylander. Dermott has not been able to do that. He's always been bouncing between, he barely stays on the team, he signs a bridge deal hoping he's going to improve, and he just frankly doesn't.
He's trade bait.
He is trade bait, but when you look at the Leafs, I agree with you, Dan, they're a fast team, a lot of skill, better defense than years past, and if Campbell plays the way he did in that game and coming in for Mrazek in the last game.
That's concerning too,
Mrazek, which we'll get into that later in the show. Yeah. But I do look at this Leafs roster. I feel there's a change in the way they're playing. They look hungrier once they wake up after the first 5 minutes of the first.
And yet you didn't put them as a cup contender, and that's the end of this discussion.
I don't think they are, though. And that hurts me. You have no idea when I'm making that graphic, not putting the Leafs on it.
Yet you look at Montreal and put them as a cup contender, and they're not that much better. Watch the first game. They weren't that much better last year. A couple of bounces and a few other things, and we're looking at the Leafs winning. That's just the optimistic Leaf fan.
But you know what? I look at Montreal. Once Price is back from dealing with whatever he's dealing with, and again, we all hope he figures out what's going on and can get back on the ice. Once they get a guy like Price back, and if they could figure out the defensive core, that Montreal team is dangerous, even though they look terrible against Buffalo last night.
But before we get to talking about that Montreal team, we have to look at the Ottawa Senators in depth, but not really in depth, because I don't really think they're going to make any playoffs.
Really? Okay, so you and I completely disagree on this. I really like this team. I look at this Ottawa team.
They were relatively good last night, but they give a lot of shots.
They did, but I mean, Forsberg played outstanding. If they can get that kind of goaltending, Tkachuk did sign a big 8-year deal, so he's staying in Ottawa. They have the leadership from a guy like Connor Brown. Even the defense core is really improved by adding Holden, getting Mete some legitimate ice time to play with Zaitsev. I like this team. Look at this roster. It's a lot of young players who can score, but still some leadership.
Right there. This is the Leafs 2-3 years ago. Ottawa is doing the right thing. They're investing in their youth. They're bringing these people back that are younger, but they are still young. That's why you might see. I might give you their 7th or 8th place in the division. I don't see them that good this year. They're that good 2-3 years from now. They're Toronto 2-3 years from now, probably without the hex of not getting into the first round. But I just don't see them at that point yet. That youth needs to develop.
Oh yeah, and I'm not saying they're a cup contender this year, because we saw Ottawa kind of fell apart in that third period against Toronto when the Leafs just put shot after shot after shot on net, where Spezza and Nylander really took over that game for Toronto. But I look at this Ottawa team, and I think they have the depth. DJ Smith's a good coach. They're going to learn from mistakes like what happened in this Leaf game, and I do believe they're a team that will be hovering in anywhere from 6th to 10th in the East, battling for that playoff spot.
They have a better chance to make the playoffs than the Ottawa Red Blacks do.
Very, very true. But we got to now move on. I have to dab on you. We now got to move on to the Montreal Canadiens, because we also haven't had a chance to look at this lineup. Like, man, we have been slacking over here at 705 Sports, so we got to get that up there.
Again, when the co-host goes on vacation, you don't get to do half of this crap.
So we look at the Montreal Canadiens, and the reason why I feel they're more of a cup contender than Toronto, I feel their lineup's tougher. They have had a lot more playoff success. They're going to learn from that cup run, and they have a lot of guys that play both ends of the ice, guys like Suzuki and Anderson. And you see, I like that fourth line. I think Paquette, Lettinen, and Perreault's a solid fourth line. Funny enough, though, for me anyways, Montreal's the same concern as Toronto on the D. That third pairing terrifies me. It's Wideman was a fantastic KHL defenseman, but he's offense first, not defense, and we really saw that in the last game against Buffalo. And Romanov, he takes a lot of stupid penalties. He's a
wild card, though. Like, we try to always put an offensive defenseman with a defensive defenseman. Mm-hmm. You've done that with the third pair here. Romanov is a defensive defenseman that takes a lot of penalties. And whether that makes him a good or bad defensive defenseman is putting yourself in the box isn't helping anybody.
No.
Wideman, he's that, like you said, they're the wild card. Sandin and Dermott. If you're putting these two teams against each other, that fourth line for Toronto has to outplay that fourth line for Montreal, and that third pairing for the 4 or 5 minutes they get in each game needs to outplay the third pairing, maybe even up to 7. I think I saw last night the Leafs was at third pairing was at 7 minutes, but
yeah,
Sandin had 7.5 or something. So you know,
because Sandin plays on the power play,
but he's also on the power play. So with that, though, we are quickly running out of time in our segment. We have to go see our wonderful and amazing sponsors. So we will be back shortly after this break.
705 Sports, supported by Maker North, 3D printing, laser cutting, 3D design, education, prototyping, and more. Maker North, whatever it takes. 705 Sports, supported by Tammy Ovey. Are you looking for an agent who confidently knows the culture and community of Sault Ste. Marie? Call Tammy Ovey, 705-971-0171.
And welcome back. We're going to move on this now to the CFL, I think is where we're headed with our follow-ups from last week. Apparently you picked a game of the week for me.
I did. I just figured it was the game you would have liked. But because you know what? I have to tease you on one of them. But first, let's get up that graphic. And we look at this. Stampeders are able to surprisingly take down the Rough Riders. Blue Bombers completely destroying the Elks. Red Blacks losing a tough one to the Alouettes. And Dan, can you say the last one for me?
Yeah, the Tiger Cats somehow managed to lose by 1 point to a team from a T-Dog.
And you know what? That is my game of the week, and it's not just to make fun of you.
Oh, yes, it is. Don't even lie.
But I mean, you look...
I get beat you via text at whatever time at night. I'm like, yeah, shut up.
But you know what? You look at that game, and we're going to have some highlights coming up in a second of it.
Of course
and this was a game where, to be honest, Hamilton looked really good to start. Like, the beginning of the game, Masoli looked good. The running game was doing well. The Argos defense was doing their usual, let's play the who wants to be a tackler this game, where they just weren't finishing their hits at all. And then all of a sudden...
There's one.
Yeah.
Well, it took two. The one guy kind of half got him down.
And that was weird of Hamilton. I thought Masoli looked like the Masoli of old to start. McLeod Bethel-Thompson of the Argos was really struggling. But then in the second half of the game... You completely flip that script. You know, just for you, you can see one of your touchdowns.
This is college football, a game of second half adjustments, and somewhere along the line, Hamilton missed the adjustments.
They really did, and McLeod Bethel-Thompson came out like an absolute bullet and just was hitting perfect pass after perfect pass after perfect pass.
But they fixed the pressure on the quarterback.
They did.
For the first half, Hamilton was getting there. They were getting home. They weren't doing so in the second half. But we have to get away from this game, or you would talk all segment about it, and go on to the wonderful and amazing, although not sure how it happened, Calgary beating Saskatchewan. We had Saskatchewan winning the Grey Cup at the beginning of the year, and now they're looking like they may not make it. Part of the problem, that offensive line is just not there. Well, when your quarterback throws you out under the bus a week before, you may not want to, but we're just looking at the last 15 minutes of the game. First downs, Calgary had 9, Riders had 1. Time of possession, 9:26 to 5:32. Plays from scrimmage, Calgary 19, Riders 11. Offense, in the last 15 minutes of the game, 139 for the Stampeders, and Riders had 39. The inexperienced O-line is a problem.
It is.
For that Rough Riders offense. Not having a quarterback that decides that they want to appreciate you doesn't necessarily help. Telling him it was 50-50 balls they were dropping, it doesn't really garner good blood between you and your receiving core, who's supposed to make you look good. But really, he just doesn't look like Fajardo of last year.
He really doesn't, and you know what? You got to give Calgary credit too, where credit's due. They're really turning the year around. Bolly Valmicho is finally starting to look comfortable. I think he's almost back from injury.
The best adjustment I've seen in Calgary is their defense has stood up.
Yes.
They've started to get home. They've started to put effort in. You can see the work they're doing in the off week, or in the off weeks and in between games is really starting to pay off.
It really is, and you know, I think now all of a sudden Calgary is pretty darn close to actually catching up in the race for a playoff spot. But we need to move on to the NFL. And I know you have a rant.
Yeah, before we get into the NFL, there has been 650,000 emails that are going to hopefully be revealed by the NFL. One of those, or a few of those emails, have already led to the firing of John Gruden. He misogynistic, racist, and it's all there in the emails. There is no room in professional sports for that type of mentality. People will tell you, well, that's just the NFL. It can't just be the NFL. You can't be anti-gay. You can't be misogynistic. You can't be against moving forward. It just doesn't work. It's not a good look. And if what some people are saying about the 650,000 emails is true, he's not going to be the last. And good on the NFL for forcing these people to get out of the league and hopefully never be brought back into a broadcast booth, never be brought back into any part of the game. Because if you're going to be that way, you do not deserve to represent a league or a team.
I totally agree with you. And you know what? We've always been the type that we do call out things that we think is a pile of crap. And to be homophobic, misogynistic, add to the list. I don't care when people say it's a sport, it's this, it's that. No, it's a pile of crap. There's nothing else to it. And if that's all you can think of, you know what? Doors over there, over there, over there, there.
They need to be banned from the league. Anybody that does this and is caught doing this, and this is the problem, he was caught. But anybody caught doing this needs to be banned from the league. Period. And stop.
100% agree with you, Dan. But speaking of the league...
Yeah, we know. The Lions decided to lose to the Vikings 17... They only got 17 points. The Vikings got 19. The Rams beat the Seahawks, which was kind of expected, considering the quarterback is no longer playing for the next few weeks. 26-17. Packers squeezed, and I say squeezed out a game against the Bengals. That thing went to overtime. There was like 3 minutes left in the overtime when that went down 25-22. My Eagles decided to show up and beat the Panthers, and then decided to not show up last night and lose. But anyway, they won 21-18. And then the Bills handled the Chiefs, and I mean they handled the Chiefs. The Chiefs do not look like the Chiefs of the past couple of years. There's some serious issues going on there. But Buffalo looks better than they were even last year, and you want a serious Super Bowl contender right now, you're looking at that team just across the border.
And you know, I've said that too, and I think this is the first year in Buffalo's rebuild that we're like, yeah, they're the real deal. Josh Allen is playing outstanding in the quarterback position. They have one of the top defenses. Before this game, they shut out teams back to back. When does that happen in the NFL?
Well, and the only reason they didn't do it here
is
because Kansas City is just Kansas City. They're going to score points on you. We have to get away from the NFL, though. We're going to do just about 30 seconds on the MLB. Houston is now playing the Red Sox. A little bit of a shocker there. Red Sox were not expected to get away from Tampa, but Tampa just sort of, well, in our words, shit the bed. But anyway, we can do that. Thank you, CRTC, for not regulating us. And the Dodgers are headed to play Atlanta. This is starting to look like it's going to be a 2-17 matchup, which would be Houston versus LA. No offense to the Red Sox and no offense to Atlanta. You just aren't that good to play against these other two teams. And that is going to be a riot. Full stadiums in Houston, full stadiums in Los Angeles, and each against each other, and without the ability for Houston to cheat. So maybe it'll be a little, maybe it'll be a little bit more, maybe it'll be a little bit more fair this time around. With that, we're going to be fair to our sponsors, and we're going to head off to break.
705 Sports, supported by The Refinery, the leader in women's fitness and transformations. 624 Wellington Street West in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Call 705-255-8895 for more information.
705 Sports, supported by James Seaton, Mortgage Specialist. Your new home doesn't come with mortgage advice. I do. Call James Seaton Mortgage Specialist, RBC, 705-975-1519.
And welcome back to 705 Sports. We cannot talk about sports without talking about our Soo Greyhounds. This was their season home opener where they looked really sharp, really physical, struggled in their next game against Sudbury, but then managed to get the win against Barrie last night, which conflicting for me because I'm also from Barrie. Now I gotta be part of that Hound Pound. Yeah. Speaking of pound, this team does love to pound, but we got to get into a graphic that's going to show us what's going on the Hounds.
They're headed to my hometown. They're headed back towards my hometown. If this was last week, I'd be there. No, they're headed to play the Guelph Storm. Guelph is playing not too bad this year so far. Then we go on down to play the Owen Sound Attack. Owen Sound's in a rebuild year. Let's be frankly honest. The Greyhounds are too, but I think we probably win those two. We come back and play the Wolves, and the Wolves just seem to be, and not short segment, they're dominant right now. They're a really good team this year. So with that, that's where we're at for the next 3 games. Which is all on the road. We will have some coverage, but we won't be obviously at the games because they're obviously multiple kilometers away.
Yeah, and you know what? With gas being roughly $1.50 a liter, my car runs premium. I love you, Sault Ste. Marie, but I'm sorry, no. But now we got to head over to the football field.
Yes, we did.
And check out some CFL.
Yeah, well, I'm going to tell you right now that the way this has gone down, the Blue Bombers beat the Elks, and I'm going to be, when this camera comes back to me, I've got something to say here because the Elks just did not bring their lunch. They haven't. They have not brought their lunchbox ever since that's been revealed as a toxic environment. They've stopped playing.
And you know what, something too with the Elks, and this is interesting when you look at this graphic, Taylor Cornelius is getting the start and not Trevor Harris. So some viz is going to come up on the last game from Edmonton. They were a steaming pile of poo, as Third Down Nation
as Third Down Nation say, yeah, they're a steaming pile of poo.
Now mind you, Winnipeg is a dominant force, but to lose 30-3, like that is just embarrassing. And I look at it with Edmonton, I almost feel the season's done. And I think now they're trying to play Cornelius to see what he can do for the future because Ottawa looks better than Edmonton right now.
And that is saying something.
That is definitely saying something.
We're just a little concerned. They didn't bring their lunchboxes because, well, there's 2 teams right now in the CFL don't seem to bring their lunch. Ottawa's one of them. Mm-hmm. And Edmonton, ever since being revealed as a toxic work environment, don't seem to show up and care. It's just not there. There's no enthusiasm to play. There's no, and I don't think it's a skill thing. I think they can play. Mm-hmm. They're just, something's not working there. You can an announcer for calling out your bull crap. And yeah, there's something wrong.
And, you know, I feel the Elks, too, are poorly coached. They don't use the running game enough when the quarterbacks are struggling. And James Wilder Jr. is the type of running back who can completely change a game and dominate a game. But we got to move from one steaming pile of poo to another steaming pile of poo, which we have the Ottawa Redblacks versus the Montreal Alouettes.
However, this steaming pile of poo played not a bad game.
No, you know what? They didn't look that bad last week. Although they lost, I felt they had their moments. Montreal, though, has a big concern. Vernon Adams Jr. is going to be out for the next 6 weeks. So now it's up to Matt Schultz. Is that
really a concern, though?
Yes.
I ask that because he has not been that good. And I think you give Schultz 4 to 6 weeks, and you may have a quarterback controversy coming back around when the playoff rolls around.
You know, you might. But it's one of those things for Montreal, though. They do need to change up the offense because Schultz is more of a build a drive, and Vernon Adams Jr., I mean, there he's getting sacked by Ottawa, which Ottawa's defense is not that bad, actually.
Like I said, they didn't look too bad last
No,
week.
they just couldn't score to save their lives. But
well, that's been their problem all year. They can't score. Outside of Calgary, the defense that has made the biggest gains this year is that Ottawa defense.
You know what? I think you give Ottawa, this year's a write-off. I think if you can continue to work on Caleb Evans, you continue to get this defense going, you try to build a team around that, I think you actually have a shot in Ottawa to build a good team. And actually, this is where Vernon Adams Jr. gets injured right here. Believe he's broken his arm. He was helped off almost at the rink, the arena. Yeah. You can tell hockey's on the brain this week. And after that, Schultz had to come in. And you are right. Schultz is someone
I think it was a collarbone, wasn't it?
He could have been.
That's the 4 to 6 weeks. The arm would be more than that. I think it was the collarbone.
True, but Montreal, they're still in that playoff hunt, so good on them for staying alive, staying alive.
Two teams that may also be in the playoff hunt, your Stampeders and your Lions. We just did not need to listen to him sing, so we're going to carry on down the road to the Stampeders and the Lions because, well, yeah, we just need to. It was not bad with Bo Levi Mitchell, who is playing very, very well. 61%. It's not
getting there.
It gets there. He's been. I should say he's playing well the last
couple games.
2 games.
And he still had his moments where he's looked shaky. Kamari Jordan's going to be a receiver, though, that's going to need to continue to be a big target for Calgary. And I think this is a statement game for both of these teams. Yeah. Because the Lions need this to jump ahead, which they need to do without Lucky Whitehead, who is still injured and arguably one of the best players in the CFL.
Yeah, did you see that X-ray picture?
I did.
I sent it over to you. That just doesn't look like something he plays with for the next 3 or 4 weeks.
People are saying he could be back as early as next week, though. But it's one of those things. This is going to be a big, big matchup. Actually, you know what? I'm going to make a prediction on this one, though. I think Calgary's going to take it. They're looking sharp. Defense is looking good. Ooh. Michael O'Reilly struggled last week when he didn't have Lucky Whitehead for the big explosive play. And I can tell you disagree, and now I'm not pointing at a light.
I have to disagree based on they're going to make adjustments for not having Whitehead. They didn't get a whole lot of time last week to make those adjustments. If Calgary can keep a zone and keep them contained in the middle, then yeah, okay, I'll give you Calgary probably wins this. You find a receiver that can go over the top, it's not going to be a Whitehead, but if you can get over the top of that Calgary secondary, they don't have the speed to match you.
True.
So I think that's Lions' key here is the Lions' defense has to be up to the game, but they have to be able to still get over the top of the Calgary secondary.
Very, very true, but now we got to move from the football field to the ice.
See, you had the arena.
And before we get into the Maple Leafs and Senators, quickly, the Vancouver Canucks are battling the Philadelphia Flyers tonight, but we're going to get into Vancouver later down in the segment. That's why we're not highlighting that game too much. But let's highlight the next game on Saturday, which is the Toronto Maple Leafs versus the Ottawa Senators, a rematch. And we have a graphic here with basically the records of the team so far and some key players to watch for. Not sure if Tkachuk will be in the lineup for Ottawa on Saturday.
It's not sounding like he's going to make it. Some of the radio talk this morning out of Ottawa was he's probably 2 or 3 games away. Some of the talk out of Toronto, though, is you might see Matthews tomorrow night.
Wow, I didn't...
Which I think it's just hopeful speculation at this point because really Toronto doesn't play again until I think it's Tuesday, which makes more sense.
Probably wait a week.
And yeah, have that week and give him the extra 7 days. But for somebody who said his wrist was ready at 100%, it could just be a game they're playing with the Ottawa.
It could
Ottawa
be.
They do this too, right?
But you know what? Let's also give a quick shout out to Amadio, who is from Sault Ste. Marie, who you know what? Shot the hockey world by pushing Brooks off the lineup and him making it onto the lineup. Sheldon Keefe said the reason why he made the Leafs lineup is because he is a player who can play the wing and the center, and he's an aggressive player. So congratulations to him. I wanted to mention that because that is huge, someone from the Soo. But you know what? Toronto in this game on Saturday, I think Toronto's going to come back and win this game. I think you're going to see Campbell getting the start with Mrazek, who we don't know how long he's going to be out for yet, but that groin injury did not look good.
Goalie groin injuries in the NHL have been on the rise, and they usually come with a 3 to 6 week healing. 3 to be rested for, and then 3 more to get back up into game shape. So if it's truly a groin injury and it's not super severe, you probably see him in 3 to 6 weeks. Who is the backup to the backup?
Michael Hutchinson again.
Oh, again.
You know, I
don't mind that.
I like the guy. But you know what? We got to move on, because we could talk about the Leafs all bloody day, and we got to talk about the New York Rangers versus the Montreal Canadiens. And I know earlier I said Canadiens are a cup contender, and now you're going to see the graphic come up, dabbing on them, and they're 0-2 to start the year. But mind you, the goaltending was shaky against Buffalo. I can't believe they lost to Buffalo. But the New York Rangers are looking better than I expected.
How big of a hole are you going to dig yourself with shaky goaltending until Price, hopefully, all is well with him? He comes back in.
I think Montreal's going to have to make a move.
They're going to struggle, or they're going to have to find somebody.
They're going to have to make a move.
Maybe Hutch isn't Toronto's backup goalie for long, but he plays well for a couple of games. He could end up the road. It's just a thought process, but Lafreniere?
Lafreniere is...
Yeah, Lafreniere. I'm not French, so anyway.
No, neither am I.
He is starting out well. He's really, really fast. He's going to look good. He's probably a 40-goal goalie this year.
And you know what? He's looking a lot better this year than last year. His rookie year was a bit shaky, but I think he's looking better this year. And for Montreal, what you're seeing what they did against Toronto, which I don't know how that wasn't a penalty. But anyways, they're going to attack the goaltender, especially that third line of Gallagher. So expect Montreal. I think Montreal will get their first win of the year against the Rangers on the weekend. So overall, I do see them winning that contest.
We have to move on here real quick to the Vancouver Canucks and the Detroit Red Wings. This will be their 2nd and 2. Detroit's looking not too bad, just based on a little bit of tape that I've seen. Vancouver is going to be Vancouver. They should probably win this game. With Pettersson and Miller being people that we have to watch. And it's all going to come down to Vancouver's defense, really, in the end. That's where we're going to head here. And shootout shouldn't be the way to end hockey games, but that's a whole different discussion.
That's a whole other thing. But you know, I still think Vancouver is a legitimate playoff contender. Bertuzzi's on my list of Red Wings to watch, but I mean, he won't be able to play in half the games because he won't get vaccinated. But let's move on to the Battle of Alberta, which is the Calgary Flames versus the Edmonton Oilers. This is a game, I think this is a statement game for Calgary coming into their first game of the year, and we have a graphic that's going to come up and kind of break down some of the key players for each team. Calgary lost a staple player in Giordano, but they still have a solid team. Markstrom's looking for a bounce back year, and I feel that if Markstrom can play well, he can compensate for the bad defense. Edmonton's looking to go 2-0, but you know what?
Probably will.
You know what? I'm going to say Calgary for this one, because I feel Calgary is a team that can do it, and Edmonton almost lost to Vancouver. Remember, they were up 2-0 going into the third, and then all of a sudden they completely fell apart. Mike Smith really saved the day for that one. But, you know, we got to be Speedy Gonzalez here, and we got to rip through to the next one. We got to go to the Winnipeg Jets versus the San Jose Sharks, which is a difference this year. Obviously, we're seeing Canadian teams battle some American teams. I'm looking to see Winnipeg do a much better game than their season opener. They look like crap.
They need to have better defense, better offense, better goaltending, just better all around. Just better in general. And we do have one last thing we have to tell our viewers. We are changing our time slot. The other reason for the lunch break is we're going to Fridays at noon. You'll be able to see the show. It will air Friday at noon going forward. And it'll probably you'll be able to get it video on demand, as we've had some changes here at the station. We won't be doing a live stream per se as we were in the past, so we are now going to do a video on demand. It will air right at noon. It'll be available for you to watch, as it always is, on replay throughout the week. But we're welcome way past our time here, my friend.
So we got to go. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks to the On TV crew for helping us out today. But
absolutely.
We got to go, and bye.